What do you make of the moves we are seeing now, in retrospect, from the board almost a full week after that initial tweet?
Well, they're in a tricky situation, right? Because, well, now Musk is under investigation, and that's going to make it harder for, even if they had, which it clearly sounds like it wasn't, even if funding was secured, if you're going to come in with whatever they'd need, $20 billion, it's going to be a lot harder for someone it's going to be a lot harder to get someone willing to come in with that money with the CEO under investigation. The other problem they have is that if they go through with the transaction, now that there's been some airing that, Musk hadn't really thought this through, at least part of it was to get back at the shorts, they could be sued if the transaction goes bad.
Let's talk a little bit about the potential ramifications here. We heard earlier from a former SEC attorney. Take a listen to what she had to say.
He's still subject to the same ramifications that we initially thought that he could be. Making an untrue statement when you don't have a reasonable basis, and that's going to impact the securities markets, and people are going to rely on that. That is still a violation of the anti-fraud rules. And in addition, making any kind of a statement as to a tender offer and whether or not you believe that you're going to actually follow through with the tender offer, that's another violation.
As you said, Stephen, it seems like funding wasn't actually secured, but that Elon thought he could secure the funding if he wanted to. He's dropped names like the Saudi Investment Fund, but the New York Times is reporting that sources on that side say there was no paperwork being done directionally in terms of a potential deal, and also that the board was taken by surprise. All of this put together, what are the possible ramifications here for Elon Musk?
Well, I think even if he can get over the funding secured, which is a high bar, but even if he can get over that, he has a problem really, and it's even a bigger problem, I guess, with that second tweet. There was a second tweet that said that the deal's got to go, is all ready to go, all we need is shareholder approval. Well, if the Saudis were the ones that were going to do the going private transaction, there would have had to be some regulatory oversight. There would have been a vote on whether a foreign entity could take over Tesla. So that it doesn't save him having the Saudis as the potential funder. And I think I don't know if it's a criminal investigation. I mean, I've had a debate with a few of my colleagues whether this crossed over in criminal investigation, because I think for it to be a criminal thing, I think he had to be cashing out his shares on the tweet. But it seems like market manipulation, and that's a securities fraud, and he could see himself removed for a certain period of time, maybe temporarily, not be allowed to be a executive of a publicly traded company. He could, like Martha Stewart, he could be banned from being an executive of a publicly traded company.
Meantime, he's continuing to trickle out more specifics on Twitter, earlier saying he's excited to work with Silver Lake and Goldman Sachs as financial advisors. He also named a couple of law firms. You point out in your piece that while Elon Musk's biggest problem may be that Tesla is a public company, Tesla's biggest problem is Elon Musk. Explain.
Well, it was true before, but it's certainly true now in the fact that, as I said, it's going to be harder to do this transaction. Even if he could have done the transaction before, it's going to be even harder to do this transaction because anyone's going to be worried that he might be separated from the company. And then Elon Musk and Tesla are intertwined, right? That's part of the excitement, both of them, him being there to see through his vision. And a private company's not going to want, a private investor, was not going to want to get into this to the tunes of tens of billions of dollars if he may be removed. But it's just that as a public company, it's done well. I mean, he hates the criticism, but, it trades at 140 times next year's earnings, right? The public markets like Tesla. He doesn't like the criticism, but the public markets like Tesla. It's not clear, and again, I don't know what the stock would do absent of this private equity deal, going private deal. I don't know what the stock would do, but I think it's a better public company than it is a private company where it's mostly got the cold shoulder from the debt markets. I mean, they did a big offering, but it's traded down.
So that said, he's naming some legitimate financial advisors. What's the over-under?
Well, sure. I mean, but yeah, once he puts his hand up, all the people are going to jump in. There's potential for fees here, right? So they're going to jump in. But, Silver Lake has said that, yes, they're working with Musk, but they're not taking any fee, and it's not a real assignment. So it's hard to gauge what this latest tweet about the advisors means.
So what's the over-under on whether he can get this done?
Oh, nothing. I mean, there is no shot it gets done. There's no shot anyone puts their money in. In the way that he's done this, he can't get it done. I mean, it was a hard deal anyway because he would have had to come up with this kind of very weird structure because he wasn't going to come up with the full $70 billion. It couldn't take any more debt, so it's going to have to be this kind of public-private hybrid. That's going to be hard anyway. Now it's going to be really hard with an SEC investigation. And then lastly, as I pointed out, if the board goes through with it, they kind of look like they're going through with it just to save his ass. And if the transaction goes poorly, then they're going to be sued as well.